Hey guys, this is Tim from Rennline, and today we're going to be installing this M110 carbon fiber intake on this beautiful 996 C2 that we have in house today. All right, so the tools you're gonna need for this install are pretty simple. I used a right angle pick for some leverage, a 3mm, a 4mm, and a 5mm Allen wrench, a 7mm 1/4" socket with an extension, and obviously the 1/4" ratchet, a eTorx 20 and a 3/8 drive, a 14mm socket with an extension on a 3/8 drive as well. To start this install, we're gonna remove these 3 band clamps and then move on to the MAF, and then there's a single bolt in the middle. So now that that rubber intake boot is removed, we're gonna attack the MAF. I like to use a little pick. It helps to give you some leverage. All right, just to alleviate some space, we're gonna go ahead and take this out. You simply just pull it out. There's a little clip on the underside. You gotta press up. Just comes on out. This is the clip I was talking about. You just press up with your finger and it pulls right out of the intake box. So one of the last steps is taking your 14mm and removing this center bolt right here. So the last step before removing the factory intake box is going to be just simply picking up this oil filler neck so it's free from the intake. I like to take out the dipstick. You don't want to break anything, and you just set this over to the side. Now that the oil filter neck is freed from its position, we're going to just pick this up, mine the wires, and you're all set. So we got the factory intake out. Now we're gonna build the Rennline carbon fiber intake. This is how you'll receive it, along with a couple other bits and bobs that will be needed for final assembly. So let's just get right into it. So this is the main intake assembly, air filter, and the main runner going into the throttle body. We're gonna go ahead and just take the high flow intake, install it onto the runner. So this band clamp installs with just a 7mm socket, or you can use a Phillips head, your choice. Now that we have the filter installed on the runner, we're gonna go ahead and install this inside of the main assembly. It only goes on one way. You're gonna use the included hardware to install this. It's a 4mm Allen head. Now that the runner's installed, we're gonna move on to the ram air. Again, it only goes on one way. So line it up the best you can. Use the included hardware. Before we can install the intake into the car, we're gonna install some brackets that come with the kit. We're gonna take the longer peg and the longer piece of hardware, install it like so, and install it into this riv nut that's located on the bottom of the intake. You're gonna take your 5mm Allen wrench and make sure it's snugged. To install the final bracket, we're gonna take one of the rubber grommets that's included in the kit and install it into this ear bracket that's manufactured into the intake. So now that we're on the bench, we're gonna go ahead and take out the factory MAF. We're gonna use a eTorx 20. Now with your MAF removed, it's a good idea to check your elements to see if they're clean and free of any debris. So now with the factory MAF, we're gonna go ahead and install it into the Rennline intake. Just as a note, when you're tightening down these screws, you're gonna want to do them evenly. to apply even pressure on this MAF. Before we can install the new Rennline carbon fiber intake, we got to install this rubber grommet into this hole right here. So before I install the intake, I like to remove the dipstick. Just don't want to break it. So now that the intake's installed in the car, we're gonna go ahead and install this intake boot. This one's for a factory size throttle body. We do have an intake boot available for the GT3 size as well. We're gonna go ahead and use this 7mm to tighten up this band clamp. Before we wrap up this install, we got one more piece to install, and it's this rubber grommet. This is gonna help seal the intake to the atmospheric air to really cool down those intake temps. So that concludes the install for the 996, 997 carbon fiber intake. Let's go take this out for a drive and see how it sounds.